Thank you very much. Okay, everyone, welcome to the November 9th Arts Commission meeting. And just like to start with a quick roll call here. Stephen Russ now joining. So Stephen, we'll start with you. If you state your name and to be present.
Hello, Steve Russ, voting member present.
Elizabeth Tardif.
Elizabeth Tardif present.
Thank you so much. Excuse that. Put on do not disturb. Sorry about that. We got Brian Casper.
Brian Casper, voting member.
Thank you. And we have Bob Abriola.
Bob Abriola, vice chair.
Okay, thank you so much. I have heard from Janet. She's not able to join tonight. I have not heard yet from Melissa or...
I'm here. Sorry, I'm late.
Oh, sorry, I missed you.
That's all right. Melissa Matuska, voting member.
Awesome. Very cool. Okay, so we'll see if we hear from Nori at some point. So very cool. Do we have anybody from the public who wishes to participate and or speak to the Arts Commission?
We do not, but we have Jermaine and Julio here who will be presenting the MLK item on the agenda.
Okay, very good. Moving on to the minutes for October 5th, 2021. Has anybody, I've read them. Has anybody else reviewed them? Do we have a motion to approve any things that we need to amend?
So Mark, I just had a question on the number 6, the new business, the mosaic tile mural proposal with Georgette Worth. I don't know what the conclusion of that was, and it's not in the notes. She had, I guess she planned to attend the meeting. So did we not discuss that because she wasn't at the meeting?
You know, we didn't discuss it because prior to that meeting, after it had been added, we were able to work out a resolution because the City of Norwalk insurance is going to cover the repairs of that because it was damaged by the storm.
Yeah, no, I read that, but then there wasn't any follow-up.
No, there's been no follow-up because it turns out that the water damage was not from the storm. It was water damage from, so sorry about that. It was from the building itself. There was water coming from inside the building. So until that building actually gets repaired, it's not going to be, make any sense to actually repair the mural. So it's probably not, at this point, it's probably not going to happen until the spring.
Got it. Yeah. Okay.
In any case.
The rest of the notes were fine. So I'll motion to approve.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second on that motion? Just shout it on out there. Anybody's got a second on it.
Everybody jump high.
All right.
I'll second to approve, but I'm going to abstain because I wasn't present. So
fair enough. Okay. In that case, I'm
sorry.
Yes, please, Elizabeth.
Yeah, I can second. I thought I lost my connection there for a minute. So.
Oh, very cool. Okay. Be that as it may, we actually would not have a quorum to approve the minutes, so we can take the vote, but we would need a motion to table it pending next month until we have more members present. So we'll call the vote.
Mark, you can vote since Brian is here. It's just he'll be the abstention. So you can approve it. It'll just be with one abstention.
Okay, because it's a majority rule with a quorum?
Correct.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you for that. Okay, in that case, I'll vote aye, Mark Allen, and we'll turn it over to Bob for your vote.
What do you want me to, what was that? Sorry, Mark.
Just you voting, just voting on the.
I vote aye, I vote aye.
Fair enough. Brian?
I am abstaining from voting. Brian Casper.
Thank you so much. Elizabeth?
I vote aye.
And Stephen?
Aye.
And Melissa?
Aye.
Thank you so much. So the ayes carry. Thank you very much. Sabrina, moving on to the 2022 meeting calendar. Do you have that you could put up on your screen?
Yep, give me 1 second.
Thank you. So what we're going to be doing is considering the meeting schedule for 2022. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see that in the email. I apologize.
So those are your dates. The only date, actually, all the dates are the first Tuesday of the month because election day is actually the following week since the Tuesday's the first next year. So we're all good.
So the only thing for me is that I think I'm looking forward to getting moving forward, by the grace of God, that we can all meet in person again. We used to meet at 7 and when it was in person, and we had moved to 6 p.m. when it was on Zoom. I think that moving back to 7 might be easier for people who are coming from work and going to be meeting in person. Does anyone else have any opinions on this?
I will have a conflict if that's the case.
And I will also,
Which would be easier for you? What?
Keeping it at 6 is easier for me.
Okay.
Mark, we can also do a hybrid. So we can meet at City Hall at 6 p.m. and the folks that, can't be there, we can have them join on Zoom. We can have both options. So we would just keep the time the same. And then for folks that don't feel comfortable coming in or aren't able to come in and can only do it from home, we can also do that.
Okay. Duly noted. Okay, and just to be clear, for November, next November, it won't conflict with the election day, right? Or will it?
That's correct. It doesn't conflict this year.
Okay.
Well, next year, sorry.
Next year.
If I could just add one thing, it obviously, having Zoom as an option is a great help, at least to me personally. If I'm traveling and that sort of thing, I can still join.
Yeah, Mark, I like that as well, because you never know.
Yeah, we have to keep the hybrid version regardless. So there will always be Zoom forever and always now. So even if it's marked as in person, it is a hybrid regardless.
Okay.
We don't need to be live in person it doesn't impact anything for voting, or as long as we dial in, it's okay, right?
Exactly. Yep. As long as you're present in either format, it's totally fine.
Okay. Awesome.
I vote for that.
Okay, so is there a motion to approve?
I motion to approve.
Thank you so much.
Second.
Yeah, I'll second that. Or was that Brian? I think Brian beat me to it.
Okay, in that case, we'll call a roll call vote, and I'll start with myself, Mark Allen, with an aye. And Brian Casper.
Brian Casper, aye.
And Bob Abriola.
Aye.
Elizabeth Tardif.
Aye.
Stephen Rust.
Aye.
And Melissa Matuska.
Aye.
Excellent. So we got our schedule for next year. Thank you so much.
Nori's not here, but I'll do the update. I'm just going to the here we are. All right, so this is what we have remaining today. I also remediated the $250 negative balance today. It just hit the books, so the next report that we pull will be there'll be no negative balance. So the only thing that we've paid up to this point is really our minutes and Michelle from our other professional services account. And the Mad Labs booth is also out of that account as well. So That's all that we've got in there. But I also wanted to take the time to say that I'm going to request the same amount of money next year. We just put all that fun stuff in the budget. There is a move to hopefully have somebody else on board who will be able to do social media on my part, specifically for the commission. So we may or may not be removing Michelle, not necessarily from the budget amount. We could do other things with that money, but we may not need it next year if we have the capacity to bring on that other person. We have the American Rescue Plan Act funding coming in, so we're hoping to get some staff added to the team specifically in regards to arts and culture and social media implementation and all that fun stuff that we currently have consultants for. So if we have full-time staff focusing on that, they would consume that, but I'm still going to request all of that because that's kind of all up in the air right now, and I don't want to leave us short-handed if that ends up being the case. So that's it on the operating budget side. I also had Maritza include the MLK account, which is our capital account.
Mhm.
So we have the purchase order in place, which you'll see. So it subtracts the money from the total balance. So that's how much kind of we have left is the 13,000, which will cover the rest of the project, essentially the rest of the project costs. So we'll be in good standing and that will be zeroed out after the project's completed. However, we do have that $25,000 remaining from this fiscal year that's currently happening right now to do a project for the spring coming up. So that's something that you guys talk about offline in the infrastructure committee, but we do have that money that we're going to be allowable to spend. And then we also have some money that will be coming in from the American Rescue Plan Act funding, number one, but number two, the MLK corridor funding as well, which was a $5 million grant from the state.
Oh, you cut out for a second. What are the additional monies from the state? How much is that?
I don't know how much they're actually allocating from that $5 million. I assume it will be in the realm of $60,000-ish.
Okay.
A lot of it's doing housing focused work. So we carved out a little bit for the arts, but a majority of that's going to go to home ownership opportunities, facade opportunities for owner occupied units in the geography, that type of fun stuff. But we are getting $39 million from the ARPA funds, and a significant portion is going to support the arts and cultural initiatives of the city. We don't necessarily know exactly how much we're able to carve out, but it is one of the goals of the funding, so we will be using it for that. I did request an arts and culture plan, if you remember last fiscal year, and it was funded for $50,000, but that was it. I don't think $50,000 is sufficient enough to do an arts and culture plan for the entire city. So we're going to leverage some of the American Rescue Plan Act funding to have a significant amount of money to be able to do that. The last time that plan was done was like in the 80s, and it basically said, here, put a mural on this wall. So it wasn't very comprehensive by any means. So hopefully we'll get a good portion of that out of it. And then I'm also requesting the public art inventory as a line item, but that's gonna also hopefully come out of the American Rescue Plan Act funds as well. It's just we have a better chance of getting it out of that pot than our normal capital budget process. And in addition to that, another great thing that we're starting with the American Rescue Act funding is we're going to start a compounding fund for art maintenance in the city. So we're going to start with kind of a lower amount, but every year add to that just in case we need to fix something. So this time when we did it, it happened to be an act of God and the city's insurance was able to cover it, but there's also just art in the city that we need to maintain, for example, like the Donovan's mural, those types of things. And we currently don't have funding to support that. We kind of put it on the building owner or the artist, which we don't want. So we're going to start that fund up so that we can actually maintain the that we might need to bring on artists to complete for us.
That's what that's exciting news. All of that is very exciting. How much is the American Rescue Plan Act, or is it not decided yet?
It's $39 million to the city.
No.
And it comes in 2 tranches. So we have half of it right now. And then once we begin the implementation, we get the other half.
Wow.
And it covers a whole lot of fun stuff that we get to do. So I'm super excited for next year. We should be able to do a lot of cool stuff.
Excellent. That's all exciting stuff.
Yeah. So that's
Okay.
it. That's all of it in a nutshell.
Okay, and just to be clear, the 25,000 that's that we have for 2022, that's not tied to MLK, right? That's Norwalk in general.
Nope. Last budget season, we transferred that to just an art in public places program so that we can put them wherever in the city we deem fit. So it's really up to us where we want to implement. And I think now that we have the bones contractually from legal, which I think was the longest piece of this, we should be able to do it in more creative locations that aren't just city-owned locations, and maybe on, you know, sides of private buildings that may be in prominent locations, or if we wanted to do something that isn't a mural, we have the opportunity to do that and put it basically anywhere in the city that we want. So
Excellent.
Sabrina, what are you putting in for the budget for next year? Is it 14?
yeah, it ends up being 14.5.
14.5? Okay.
14.5 for the Arts Commission for our administration.
For the operating budget, I am requesting the Art in Public Places program for the 50,000 like we did this past year though as well.
Okay. And the art budget year starts, was it April?
We funded in April. We know that we got the funding or didn't get the funding theoretically, but we don't actually get the money until July 1st.
July, okay. So our fiscal year starts July 1.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
So that's our new fiscal budget, but the 25 for 2022, that could be in spring, you're saying? That doesn't have to wait until July, correct?
Correct. That money's already in the account and we can spend it.
And what's our balance right now? Can you go back to what was the balance as we're
Sure.
carrying right now?
So operating our balance,
I
yeah,
mean,
probably have about 10,000 in there.
yeah, we should total these. I'll talk to Nori. But yeah, okay, got it. So there's like 10 in there.
And then we have 13,000 left in the MLK budget, but that's really just the other half of Lauren and Julio's work. And then that 25,000 is unallocated at this point. So we have the full amount.
Yeah, okay. Got it.
Okay, thank you so much. Moving on to the Communications Committee update. We're starting to work on the newsletter. As we talked about the last meeting, the goal is to have the newsletter come out in advance of the Norwalk Film Festival to promote that, as well as, and we also talked about promoting Norwalk Arts Commission based news and events. So we're going to include the ribbon cutting for Lauren Clayton's mural, which is happening, just so everybody knows, is happening November 14th. That's at the pumping station, which is on the corner of Wilson Avenue and MLK Boulevard. That's going to happen from 12 to 2, although the ribbon cutting with the mayor will be right at 12. So anybody from the Arts Commission that can be there, that would be great. But that's going to be one of the items that we announce. So we're going to get the newsletter out in advance of that. So
To piggyback off of that for 1 second, sorry. We are going to have a ribbon cutting as well for both of the pieces to really kick off the first installation of the Art in Public Places program with the mayor as well, once both of the pieces are completed.
Okay.
I just wanted to share that as well. That doesn't have a date associated with it yet because it's highly, dependent on when the stair mural is finished. But once that's finished, we'll have a larger ribbon cutting.
Okay. Okay, so we'll get to finding out about from Julio when we think that might be done.
What was it, November, what, Mark? What was the date? November?
November 14th, it's Sunday. Sunday it's officially marked as 12 to 2, although I would imagine that the ribbon cutting will be probably closer to 12:30, just from experience.
He was early at the at Washington Street, wanted to get out of there like 2 minutes after, so hopefully.
Just I mean, not to speak for the mayor, but he's very highly scheduled. He does what he has to do, but he's in and out.
Yep. Totally.
I think certainly can understand that. Okay, so that's going to go. So basically, still looking for probably 2 or 3 more other news items. If anybody has any ideas, you can email me offline.
Yeah, Mark, could you email, like, I didn't even know you guys were working on that. So that would be great. So you have that one article, yeah, and maybe you can just, or loop me in, to what, because maybe I can help.
Yeah, and I want to get some, I'm going to write to Julio offline so we can get some language for the Lauren Clayton piece. But I have a nice photo that I took last week. Although I'm going to probably go back and just make sure that there's no other work that's been done since then.
Okay.
And I did a boosted post on the Facebook page with a form for looking for new subscribers to the newsletter. We currently have 492 subscribers. Obviously, our arts community of Norwalk is massive, so there's tremendous room, potential for growth. So we want to just keep building our newsletter, subscriber base.
It's an e-newsletter, right?
Yeah, it's an exactly.
Okay, and there'll be links on the social media as well, I guess.
Correct.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
Yeah. So that's it. That's it for communications. Although Michelle wasn't able to join today, but she's going to once we get the newsletter sort of kicked off, then I think into the new year, that's when Michelle will hopefully become more actively involved. Unless it turns out to be something that Sabrina takes over through her new staffing. We'll see what happens, but that's all TBD. Okay, we can move on to Brian Casper with a committee update from infrastructure.
Thanks. There's not much to update. October pretty much got away from me and I didn't schedule a meeting. We do have one coming up in 2 weeks. It looks like it's going to happen. Some things we're going to work on. I mentioned in the last meeting, actually September, that Sabrina did a little bit of digging with the Department of Transportation in the state and found out they actually have I'm kind of jumping into my underpass project thing. They have pretty clear guidelines onto approving art for their property, the underpasses that slice through our city. And I've read through it a couple times. It seems very straightforward. Actually meeting with David, is it Shackley? Shockley. Is that Sharkley with a Boston accent or just Shockley?
No, Shackley.
Anyway, I'm meeting with him next week actually to chat about the free public art space idea, just because it's a little bit his jurisdiction, even though it's not his property. I just want as many people on board with it as possible, even though we do have the support of the mayor, which is great. Anyway, so we're going to make some moves with that hopefully soon. We're going to discuss that project. We're going to discuss what Sabrina just alluded to, which is that $25,000 we have, try to come up with some version of a plan on what to do with that in our upcoming meeting, and hopefully have a lot more for you guys in December. That's it.
Brian, is that the underpass in Sono you're talking about?
No, a couple months back, I sort of decided to start digging and looking into what it took to get Department of Transportation property covered with art, because we always sort of dismiss it as something we can't do. Anyway, and part of the reason I started looking into it, because there's two, at least off the top of my head, two main sort of pedestrian underpasses in our city. One is right, I guess it is sort of Sono. It's sort of behind the mall, Oyster Shell Park, right by the lovely scenic transfer station. And the other is actually where extending the Norwalk River Trail up here past me in West Norwalk. It goes under Route 7. So both those spaces are pedestrian only, and I kind of identified them as potential proving ground, let's say, for something, a free public art space where anyone can kind of come and, paint something rather than have to go through endless approval process. It's going to get graffitied anyway. They're actually cleaning it up right now. It costs the city who knows how much every year to clean up these spaces. So why not take away the cost for policing vandalism, and just kind of leave it open to anyone. And then it creates something for people to see on the Norwalk River Trail, and it creates an appeal and all that stuff. So those are the two areas that I'm specifically talking about with this. The broader scope is I really would like to see every single underpass that the DOT owns covered with artwork in our city. We have a buttload of them. There's, I think Sabrina and I counted, there's like a dozen, at least a dozen.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I was just curious if it's probably a different department. I don't know. Does anyone know? Is it with the Sono trestle?
That's probably, I would imagine that's Metro North property.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that's DOT as well.
Oh, well, then there we go. We just added like 3 more onto my list.
Yeah.
I have to double check that, but I think when they did the Sono sign, I think that's where they had to work through.
So then if we add that, we have one you're talking about, Steve. There is one near the police station. We have 3 train stations in Norwalk. So there's Rowayton Underpass train station. There's a lot. That makes it, we're like almost near 20 underpasses in our city. So why not? If we have to cover up and maintain them, why can't we decide what goes on them, which is what essentially I'm shooting for.
Yeah.
Can I add on to that by chance? This is Jermaine. I would like to be involved in that. I mean, it's a strange coincidence. I actually know, me growing up in Norwalk, I know those underpasses very well. Those were sort of like I hate to incriminate myself, but those are sort of proving grounds for us coming up as street artists. And actually the underpass over by Oyster Shell Park, we did a project that was called Art Under the Bridge. I'm not sure if any of you guys remember it.
I remember that.
Where we actually, did panels. I mean, once again, it was sort of inspired by that being, our sort of practice grounds coming up as kids. And then we made connections with the city. I forget actually what channels it went through. I forget. I think her name was Heather Dunn, if I'm not mistaken, at the time. She had ties with the city, and however it worked out, the whole project came to be that, myself, I curated it, myself and 3 other artists, created panels that were then suspended under. So it wasn't actually painted on the walls. They were suspended in sort of the open areas under the bridge. And that was, that sort of coincided with the development of Oyster Shell. And, there was a big ribbon cutting and stuff like that. And they lasted for years. I think there might've been another project that happened after that, where they put some of the stars. I guess Norwalk had stars, and some of those ended up down there. And it was there for years, but, just based on time and, stuff sort of got dilapidated. And then the city took them down. But, we've been sort of, talking for years about trying to do, that same thing, in conjunction with having public walls, because, like you're saying, especially the underpass, we called it the medical building because it was right behind, 40, I guess it's Cross Street. So we used to go over there. And, that was, once again, like a really popular, urban art location. Now they, obviously, as everybody knows, has the Norwalk Trail going under there. So there's some relics of old stuff, but, I agree that, I mean, that could be the perfect, place for public art to happen. And it could be curated in a way that even, people that might do frivolous graffiti would respect it, and it wouldn't sort of grow it. And that may even curtail graffiti happening, in other parts of the town,
Well, that's effectively what, sort of my argument for it. And Jermaine, I'll definitely connect with you, and, it would be great to have your perspective, and also just to help, because the thing that I try to communicate to people like David Shockley, who are very anti-vandalism, anti-graffiti, is that these things eventually become sort of self-policing with people like yourself, people like me.
Definitely.
And on top of that, it becomes sort of just this free thing for the city to have a constant rotating, legal spot in our town. I actually don't know any other legal walls in Connecticut. I think it might be the only one. There was one in New Haven. I think it's gone now. But anyway, all this to say, I think a lot of the critics of this idea think that people are just going to go down there, paint swastika shaped penises on it or something all the time. And if that, to be perfectly frank, if that happens, I'm going to be probably the one going down there to paint over it. Because I don't want to see that. Anyway.
Yeah, that's happening without order. Anyway.
Exactly.
So if we supply some order to it, then it would,
Exactly. So that's a little bit of my pitch. And I feel like it's going to get painted anyway. So why not make it so it doesn't have to get policed and it doesn't have to get constantly covered up.
It becomes an attraction. It becomes an attraction. People are walking. That's
exactly right.
There,
Absolutely.
I think people will want to walk there and see, and then you could promote it. It's a lot that you can be.
Part of that attraction could be lighting them too, right? Doesn't lighting offer a little bit of security, makes it a little more of a place to go? This time of year it's getting dark so early. It's great, but I'd love to get to be a part of that, because I think we could really simply get some light in there and increase the.
There's a little bit over by the transfer station, because I think of probably the project Jermaine is alluding to. There is some stuff going on there. I know they also have trash cans already. I'm sure they're going to put lights in on the Norwalk River Trail. But you're exactly right, Steve. You sort of, you create it more of a beacon for public art, for street art, and it will become a more dynamic thing. And, don't ask me how I know this, but when you're down there painting and people do walk by you, they're excited to see something new to look at. So
I just want to say that why I'm excited about this is because it gives us the means to promote this stuff that this art, we all know has existed in certain places for years. And it's one of those things where it's like a hidden gem of Norwalk, is the artistic talent. You didn't want to promote it too much because you didn't want it to get, taken down. You know what I mean? From an artist point of view. So it's sort of like, if you knew about it, it was cool. And if you didn't know about it, it was cool.
Yeah.
But now it gives us the ability to promote Norwalk public art in a very cool way, where we wouldn't have ventured to do that before.
And a constant rotating selection that cost the city literally $0.
Yeah, exactly. It's like free public art.
Yeah, that's right. So anyway, I'll definitely connect with you. Sorry. So go ahead, Mark. Sorry.
No, I was saying, this past weekend, I visited Houston, Texas, and I was blown away by the amount of street art that they had there. So vibrant, so colorful. I think there was over 400 murals in that city. It was just so exciting, and it made me realize that there's so much opportunity for us here in Norwalk to promote public art. And I think what you're doing, Brian, is great.
So that's where we stand. It might be tricky with some of the requirements that the state has, especially with these two projects specifically. More of a commission-based thing. It's a lot more straightforward, but we'll get there. That's what we're effectively going to be meeting about, that plus the $25,000 budget item this month, and hopefully we'll have a lot more for you in December. That's all I got.
All right, excellent. So in that case, let's just get a brief. Let's get an update on the MLK project from Julio.
Hold on, Mark. One second.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I just wanted. So, Brian, any liability, insurance, any kind of thing like that's going to come in and creep in for the commission?
Honestly, that's the one line item in the state's requirements that might be a tricky one. It's all their other requirements I see no real issues with. It's about free flow of traffic, distracting to drivers, there are no drivers, all that sort of stuff. Being able to paint over something if they need to do repairs, like all that stuff doesn't apply. It's the insurance liability. They ask for $1 million insurance policy whenever you're installing something on state property, which it's just gonna be tricky. It's gonna be something to get the lawyers on. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, if we go through with this, which is a great idea, I support it, of course, but didn't know if there's any, you never know what happens. Somebody gets injured or there's some kind of insurance.
Yeah.
accessibility issue that we got to worry about down the road.
Totally.
Mhm.
Sorry. All right, Mark, go for it.
Okay. So Julio, can we have an update on the MLK project?
I think you've pretty much kind of gone through the touch points that I was gonna highlight, which is that the pumping station mural is complete, and we are having the event Sunday, 12 to 2. We are also concurrently starting the stairs, hopefully this weekend, which will have a volunteer aspect to it as well, and hopefully have that done before Thanksgiving. And yeah, there will be, I guess, a second unveiling for the stairs, but as of now, we don't have that date. But right now, we're just lining up people that wanna work on the stairs and help out with the stairs, and hopefully get that done before Thanksgiving.
Is that going to be like kind of gridded out for people to have certain pieces to paint? How does that work?
That's the plan. There's going to be a significant amount of cleanup and prep work, which is the actual priming of the stairs. So, you know, there will be some of that. And then the plan is to plot it out, and then, yeah, paint more or less a paint by numbers type thing. But we're going to work on one side and then move over to the other side. So there will be 2 stages of that.
Julio, that's all being painted. There's no digital on that one. That's all painted the stairs.
Yeah, it's all hand painted.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. She's what she has is the technique is a projection, where she projects and then lines it all out, and then comes back in and paints it by hand.
Yeah, I prefer paint. It's great. It's just, yeah. Excellent.
But yeah, the pumping station mural is really striking. I mean, I was out there quite a few times as she was working on it, but it's really striking, beautiful, and we're hoping to clear out the area so that the brush and you know, you have a clear view of it, and would love to get some lighting on there. I know that was a suggestion a while back. I think some lighting will really upgrade that, but it's really beautiful, and it's gotten a lot of positive reaction from people that have passing by.
Great. Sure, I'd be happy to help on lighting, and I'll go by and take a look this week. Should I contact you, Julio?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Sunday, yeah, we're going to be out there on Sunday, but if you want to meet,
I'll try to be there. Yeah.
Mark, I haven't been out there. Julio, I haven't been out there. I'm wondering, like, would it warrant having some kind of a plaque on the wall, not on the artwork, but on one of the sides to kind of talk about the project and everything?
I'll tell you what I was going to recommend is this, and this is what I saw when I was in Houston, and I saw it recently in Atlantic City, down there. I'm sorry, Asbury Park. All of their murals had QR codes, every single one, and then when you would open up, it would open up a landing page that would give an overview of the artist and about the work. Right. I think that's absolutely essential for our public art that we're putting up now, whether it's a plaque or however it's installed. I think it's crucial.
I agree 100% that's actually was part of Lauren's proposal. So she's actually got a website actually going now with the murals on it, information about the murals. But yeah, her plan is to put a plaque on with a QR code as well. And consequently, I'm going to talk to her kind of about doing the same thing for the art in Ryan Park, which also needs signage. So would love to get her involved in creating the QR code and corresponding website for that as well.
We might want to think about that as even like a public art proposal to the Arts Commission, even outside of this particular project, MLK. Yeah. Something going forward, because I feel like it should almost be a requirement.
I agree. I've seen some really great examples of it, and pretty much everyone has a phone now, and it's just so accessible. And actually, we've got actually Lauren's husband has been shooting film as well. He's going to put together a documentary that's going to go along with it as well. So I think it's a great opportunity to just connect people with the story behind the art, and profiles within the artist community as well.
Sabrina, would it be possible, as far as you know, or something you could check out? Do you think that within, say, the Visit Norwalk website, there could be a page for this public art so that the QR codes go to that page? We have all of it in one place.
Yes, we can definitely do that. And we're also implementing software upcoming that will have like walkable maps. So like you could mark all the locations of our public art and somebody can open the app and be able to take that walk and get the information as well, or have somebody talk to them, kind of like the AutoCast software, but on our own Visit Norwalk platform. So we're building all that fun stuff out now. So public art's definitely a big part of that, as well as like walking trails and self-guided tours and stuff like that. So definitely an opportunity.
Good stuff.
Mark, what did they do? Did they like decal the QR code? They're not painted in there, right? Like how are they?
No, they weren't painted. They just had a little,
like a vinyl decal.
yeah, like a little vinyl
Plastic.
plaque.
It's a plastic vinyl plaque.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. And we gotta look into the mechanics of how that gets printed and all that, but Julio, you're muted.
I've actually done this, is Melissa. I've gotten some stuff printed on. Sorry about that. I've had stuff printed on plastic before, and it had to come over from the UK, but it looks very nice, professional, and museum-like. I'd be happy to share some of those examples if you want.
That would be great. Yeah.
I'm going down to Wynwood Walls in a few weeks for Art Basel. I'll take some pictures and see what the heck they got going on.
Where is that?
That's not in Miami. Art Basel is, I don't know if you
Oh, Art Basel, yeah.
Yeah, so Wynwood is down there as well.
Excellent. Okay, great. So let's move on to the new business, which is the traffic graphic installation on 4 traffic boxes. It's part of the MLK project, and we have the approvals of the locations from David Shockley, and we can turn it over to Julio now for the proposal.
Okay. I'd like to share my screen if possible. Can everyone see that?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So, I think a lot of this is already territory that we've covered in other meetings. So I just want to get to the heart of what we're here, which is the proposal. We have Jermaine here that is going to present his proposal and kind of the way he sees it's going to work out. But I'll just kind of remind everyone, the goal was to learn, to collaborate, to communicate and create art for public spaces in South Norwalk. The assignment, inspired by the life and words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., we create site-specific artworks for the MLK corridor to celebrate the legacy, to grow the community and foster inclusion. So basically here's the proposal, and I'll just hand it over to Jermaine at this point.
Okay. Hi, how's everybody doing?
Very good.
You guys hear me? Okay.
Yes.
You guys want to take a second to look at the proposal, or?
Yeah, let's look at it.
We just sort of flesh it out. I don't know if you guys saw it already, but and I guess the general idea is having curated the traffic graphic projects a couple times in Norwalk, and in conjunction with seeing, I guess, a broader spectrum of teaching art and getting artists, especially up and coming artists, involved in the project. Myself and a couple of other artists have been talking about the potential of creating almost like a artist mentoring situation. So whereas in even when public art happens, a lot of times you have an artist that just goes out and paints a mural, and then the public sees it, stuff like that. Or you have stuff that has community involvement, but even the community that's involved gets involved like for the day. They'll come out and paint, and then just sort of take part. And being a public artist myself for the majority of my life, I see the potential to help develop artists. So, you know, this is something that Julio and I had talked about and thought it would be a good, you know, complement to the MLK project. And, you know, as you can see, basically, you know, it's designed to have workshops, whereas in, you know, we vet, you know, up and coming artists, you know, artists that have interest in actually doing art. It's not just like a, you know, just a basic workshop to teach art. It's, you know, ideally for artists that are interested in doing, you know, public art and giving them, you know, more of a background history. So the workshops are broken up, you know, so far, you know, it's loosely developed to be 4 different workshops, to whereas in the first one is, you know, like an introduction to street art, going over, you know, the history, the importance, the different, you know, movements of street art, you know, going from, you know, graffiti and sort of blatant vandalism to how it's become very accepted today in many ways, and just sort of the evolution, and giving them sort of, you know, a foundation to the project. And then there's, you know, 2 other sessions to, you know, by which we're gonna develop our concepts, you know, understand, you know, why, you know, what we're gonna be painting and doing is important, you know, come up with, you know, interesting and intriguing concepts, you know, I mean, which to me is a very important, you know, element of street art, is having stuff that is intriguing, you know, it may be inspirational, you know, you have the public's audience, you know, you have the audience there. So why not do something that you can, you know, transmit, you know, an idea of something positive. So, you know, that'll be another aspect of the classes or the workshop. So we'll develop those ideas and then focus on how we can create concepts that magnify, pardon me one second, that that magnify the MLK project. And then, you know, we'll go into, you know, actual techniques and different materials that can be used or that are used in putting up street art. You know, you have a lot of different options, which will obviously hone down to the ones that are more site specific for the traffic graphic boxes. And then actually execute, you know, the paintings and the concepts on the boxes that have been chosen. And then, you know, like a sort of a grand finale, I would like to do some sort of show, you know, some sort of, you know, presentation, you know, where people, you know, can come and see the development, the thought process, you know, see where we started from sort of nothing to creating sketches and ideas and going over the materials to use, and then they can see the final product in the streets. So that's pretty much the project.
So I'll just jump in. On the right here is kind of a budget, kind of loosely laid out with some numbers. Yeah, just basically breaking it down for you, as well as a timeline as to how we would see stuff happening.
These are going to be digital, or are you going to paint them on the box?
No, I would like to paint. I mean, I know we sort of played with the idea of doing digital stuff, and, you know, even from I guess a logistics standpoint, it might, you know, go over a little bit easier to install digital. But I think actually painting, you know, the stuff on site is part of the experience.
I agree, definitely.
You know, I mean, there's ways that we can, you know, do some stencil, you know, do something where it'll be easier to lay out on the box. But I think ultimately, you know, the students should be painting and should be in the elements painting. That's part of, you know, the street art experience, I think.
Got it. So production materials like paint, and then the city requires you have to do 2 coats of Golden's UVL on the utility boxes. So you just make sure that's factored into your material costs.
Yeah, that and we always use the graffiti remover. You know, that's a coating that actually makes it easier. Or is that the same? Is that the Golden that you're talking about?
No, so the artists need to coat with Golden's UVL, it's ultraviolet protector, and then the city actually comes in. They'll put the anti-graffiti over that.
Oh, they'll do, okay. Because when I did them before, we had to apply it ourselves. But if the city will come and do it, then even better.
David Shockley. The boxes we've done for St. Philip's Church, and I if you read through the, I actually might have a paper from them. but they typically put the anti-graffiti on top, which is really expensive. It's like 200 a gallon for that stuff.
Yeah, I know.
So the students are getting a stipend. Is that what I'm reading here?
Yes. Also, I mean, once again, being a working, surviving, starving artist at times myself, I think it's important to, to have, a stipend or something to show, the kids that they can, make a living, or they can, benefit from their work. I think it's, motivation as well as, like a reward for taking part in the project.
So, Brian unfortunately had to bounce out because he only had until 7. So I think what we will need to do at this point is we won't be able to vote to approve this tonight. My recommendation is going to be that we meet offline with the infrastructure committee in 2 weeks to discuss this offline in advance of the next commission meeting, which would be the first opportunity for us to approve it. One of the things that Brian was concerned with that I have to agree with is, first of all, Jermaine, I think that this is a great idea. I think it's a terrific idea. I'm all for this, except the concern is that we already have a process by which traffic boxes get painted, and there's already, like, we've been basically commissioning these boxes with $1,000 per box budget. And so other people have been commissioned for boxes that have been paid $1,000. And so given the cost of this proposal, it essentially, we're basically paying a premium rate for these boxes to get painted, compared to other people who painted boxes.
Well, the major difference in that is this is a total workshop. I mean, I think this is completely different from commissioning, a lone artist to come out and paint a box and leave, as opposed to a developmental workshop where I will be working with students and, pretty much creating an incubator for something that can go forward.
Oh no, I totally get that, and that's why I think it's great. I think it's great, but I just wonder if doing a workshop at Norwalk Art Space, whether that's really in the domain of doing public art in the MLK corridor. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's outside. To me, it strikes me as outside the scope of MLK projects, such as we had conceived of it.
I mean,
that's my concern. Like, I think that if this proposal came and we went through, say, the public art project, and it was part of that 25,000, and we were going to do this as its own project, I think it would be great, and I would vote totally for it.
Mark, none of the boxes that they listed are that we're paying for are not on MLK or in the geography.
They're not in MLK?
They're not within it. So they are in the geography.
Oh, I know. I understand that.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm just saying that the workshop itself, I'm not sure how that falls within the MLK scope. To me, it seems like they're different. That's just my opinion.
Well, I mean, honestly, I mean, from that aspect, I'm thinking from the perspective of developing partnerships, and especially if this is something, if the MLK corridor is something that's going to have more life, that's going to be extended beyond just what's happening now. And the Norwalk Art Space has become such a key component in its short time in Norwalk. I mean, I think the partnership to develop, especially or early on, is something that's a benefit to the whole thing. I mean, one, they have a strong connection with the Carver Community Center. They're developing, workshops, working with students. So, I mean, I think it's, as far as that connection, it's a win-win in my eyes, but,
Oh, I agree. I think it's a win-win. I do. I agree. I think it's a win-win. I think it's great. I think this whole project is, especially, I love the idea of funding workshops for arts. I'm all for that. Don't just don't get it twisted that I'm against this, because I am for it. I just don't know if I'm for it within the MLK project specifically, which is public art.
Which
Is
is,
there any way
I'm sorry if I can just jump in. Your question is specifically around the involvement of the Norwalk art space?
No, just that. No, I'm just more about the idea of using of funding these workshops, which will turn into public art. That we because I just don't know if it's. I feel like it's two different things. It's a concern. It's my concern. I might be wrong. I might be off base, but that's.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, right? I mean, and just going back to the heart of the matter, which is the money situation. What is the value of providing an opportunity to students who probably could never get this opportunity on their own? What is the value of giving them the opportunity to create public art for their own community? And what is the value of working with a person like Jermaine as a mentor? I mean, so that number one, to me, that talks about, I know you paid $1,000 per box, but the value here is so much more. Is you're giving 8 students that opportunity. So to me, it's an investment into the corridor as well. And then, whether or not, the Norwalk Art Center, as Jermaine alluded, they are already active in the community in a very short amount of time, and they do have the network with these students as well. So I think it's a very natural partner. And I don't know if the concern is whether or not they're within the MLK corridor, or, I think we're still creating public art for the MLK corridor. So I think we definitely fulfill that part of it. I'm just trying to get to the gist of the concern.
I think it's partially about. There was also concern about the fact that we have this existing program for traffic boxes, and then when the next person comes along and says, you pay $2,000 a box for this program, then I want to get the same. I mean, we hired Spag to do a box, a few months ago, and it was $1,000. So
Right.
it's just a question of
But
funding. We're the city. We can't just willy-nilly, change prices on. I think that we sort of have to look at the overall picture of city budgets and what we're funding. And, David Shockley has had this program running for 3 or 4 years, and as far as I was told, he has the money in his budget for these boxes to be funded even without our MLK budget. So I just want to make sure that we're being really just having, just as far as the city budget goes, I think it's our job to really just make sure that we're being really, really, transparent and fair across the board.
Yeah, I mean, but I think to that, I mean, I think just it's about the end result. I mean, the end result is, yes, the art is ending up on a signal box, but it's 2 totally different programs and different components. I mean, the end result is, yes, these boxes are being painted, but how they go about getting there, I mean, as far as the funding to make them get there are 2 different, 2 different things. But, I could see how you could see it that way.
Yeah, it's a concern. I'm not, that's
Melissa, can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir, ma'am.
Okay. I agree with Mark on this, in that straying too far from our own approval process and our own standards that we've set in place would create loopholes for other things to happen in the future, I'm afraid. So, I mean, I agree with getting students involved. I like that idea. I feel like some of the budget could be scaled back a little. And what is the insurance for? I don't remember us getting insurance on any of the boxes. Is that for you to have a class?
Yeah, I think it's just something that I've kind of run up against is when you are working on public property, you do have students involved. So, I think there is a liability issue there when you ask students to go on site. that something that need to be researched as to how much that is, but that's just one of those, measures that the city would need in order to make this happen.
And then the last thing I want to throw out there is that, Julio, we've engaged you in a number of projects, and I really appreciate all the work you give us. But I feel like with the park that you did in South Norwalk, I think we paid you something like $12,500, and the sheer amount of work that went into that was really extensive. And this is one class that's that they're meeting 4 times, and that's $4,500. That's a third of what we paid for that park. I mean, I feel like that what you did for the other thing was so much more. So that's why I'm just saying that some of these prices are a little high.
Right. I think
as far as that's concerned, I mean that.
Yeah, for me, more than anything, it's you are paying for the experience of Jermaine. I think he brings a wealth of experience to this. As he said, he's curated these boxes many times, so he knows exactly what he's doing. And as far as the teaching component, yeah, it really is. I think that's where the extra cost, and then obviously the use of the Norwalk Art Center is as well. So I mean,
so essentially, Julio, is Jermaine then functioning as the curator in place of you curating this part of it?
Yes.
Well,
Okay.
Curator and teaching artist, and that particular price was based on my experience in artist fees from several other classes I've been teaching throughout the years. The Aldrich Museum, Greenwich Art Society, a lot of different places that, that's been the ballpark of my fee. I mean, I'm not sure what Julio, charged for his involvement with the park, but, it's two different spectrums, I think.
Right. And then the park, to go back to the park, there was quite a bit of research and actual physical, interviews. I did a ton of interviews. I did a ton of research. I did a ton of, sourcing materials and things. So there was a lot of legwork that went to that. Whereas this is not as intensive as far as that's concerned. But what we are talking about is the experience that's being brought to the table.
Well, I also don't want to devalue your experience either. I think both y'all do amazing work in the city, and I don't know. I just think that the budget's just a little high for what I'm looking at. And the Norwalk Art Space, is there another place we can use? I mean, the city has a number of places. I mean, maybe there's an option for that, and that would at least cut out $1,500.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there is, but I mean, once again, my only pushback to that is, I mean, we're still talking about, developing, partnerships and certain cultural currency that's beyond a monetary value. In certain instances, and especially, I mean, if we're talking about the arts, I mean, if we're trying to build this community, I think it would be important, rather than just doing it, a workshop in a gym somewhere, in a basement somewhere. I mean, I think it's two different atmospheres. That's what I would say to that.
And also, as he said, we're looking into having a show as well, a showing of the student project and the kind of the workshop and how it works and how people got to their executions. So I think that the space definitely lends itself to that.
I had a couple questions. Forgive me, Jermaine, because I have not been down to the art space yet, but I've read about it, and I know you guys are doing some great stuff down there. So if I understand the concept down there, there's artists that are residents, and they offer free classes to teach area students art. Is that generally kind of what Art Space is doing to help students in the area? And so my question is, how is this different than maybe is it the same students that are enrolled at the Art Space, or?
No, it would be separate students. I mean, there would be students that I would vet for this particular project, but I mean, some may come through there, some may come through, like I said, the Carver. I mean, I'm good friends with Joe Fusigna, who's actually a fellow, because the structure of the art spaces, there's artists in residence and there's fellows, you know, I'm a fellow, so we're sort of like a steering committee, or, you know, we're the more seasoned artists, and then the artists in residence, the people that have their studios there for a year, you know, part of their obligation is to teach classes to students, you know, throughout the year while they're there. And then the fellows, like I said, we have shows, we have the show that you've been seeing happening. But, you know, Joe Fasigna, who's a fellow, you know, is teaches at NCC, and he's the director of the arts department at NCC. So, you know, I would like to vet students, you know, a broad spectrum of students from around, as well as students that may come through there, but not necessarily just using people that are students that are already enrolled in their programs.
Mm.
With the art spaces they offer free education for area students? Is that how it works?
I couldn't hear you. What'd you say?
No, the education for those students are at no cost at the art spaces for them? Is that how that works?
Yes, yes, and they're developed and curated by the artists in residence. So it's really like a separate, you know, program that they develop specifically for the resident artists to then, you know, undertake.
And then they're getting paid. Those artists in residence kind of get paid by they utilize studio space there. That's part of like their part of how they get paid.
Yeah. It's sort of, I guess it's like a bartering type of thing. You know, they have access to the space. They're gonna have, you know, their shows. I think they're gonna have a group show at the end of the year. You know, so there's trade-off, you know, for them, you know, being in
so the reason, and this is all, that's amazing that you guys are doing all that, so kudos and applause. My only concern would be connecting to the art space with this project, and I guess we heard some comments about the budget here, right? Will people not be able to connect, or will they connect the dots where there's free education and there's that kind of going on, and then we have these costs? So I just don't know if there's any issue publicity-wise with the budget. I mean, this is all public, like we're going to be paying for this. I mean, I think you guys do great work, and I know you're a great artist, so I know your value. I guess my only concern would be that, you know, the business.
I mean, I think we'll,
and how you guys do it, and then we're getting charged these fees to kind of do it for.
yeah, well, I mean, once again, I mean, this is something that is totally separate from what they're doing in their space. I mean, I don't think it would be, you know, any different than if we were to go in. Well, I mean, it's much different because I think, once again, we're getting, you know, different cultural currency out of working with them, as opposed to using a free space or going someplace else to rent a space that has sinks, that has tables, that has, you know, facilities and, you know, workshop ready area, you know. But I don't think, I mean, I'm not sure whether you're saying it would be a benefit or it would be a detriment to working at the art space.
No,
what is your position on that?
I think it's a great facility. All I'm saying is you have students today that are using it, and you have teachers that are teaching.
That are separate from what we are doing.
Yeah, I guess it would be separate, but you may be using the same students, and you're using that facility there. So connecting the two from a cost standpoint, you know, I think everyone's just reacting to the cost on this one, and we want to make sure that it's in line with what, you know, we should be paying for the city.
I mean, or I mean, could you see it as if we were to be renting the space for a private art event? You know, I mean, there's art there, they have the facility, but if we want to come in and have a gala or some grand art ball or something there, then it would be a similar thing. I mean, they have art there, they use the facility for art, but if we're coming in with a program that we want to use their space and, you know, use their promotion and their, you know, their team to support us, I don't see how that won't be seen as a different undertaking. But
okay, that's all I have.
So just to be clear, Julio, the budget for this is $8,700. The budget we have left is 13. Would you be taking the difference between this budget and the 13 as your fee? I'm just trying to understand. Like, Julio, how is your role now in this with Jermaine being the curator essentially for it?
Yeah, I mean, I think just to clear it up, I mean, I still the curator of the overall project, right? And like Jermaine said, he's teaching it. But as far as my role, yeah, I mean, I think my role would be more advisory and production side of things. I would help out production wise, you know, be it on location or facilitating any sort of materials and transportation and things like that. So, you know, I would still have that role. But then as far as like my fee was concerned, I mean, I think it's still the overall, you know, project that both projects, the Lawrence projects, and then, yeah, I think I'd have to figure out what the fee would be here. But I think it would be covered just generally under the two other projects that we're doing. But I had to kind of look at the numbers as far as that's concerned.
So your fee for the other two the first two projects was a percentage of the overall, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I guess this is my question: are you taking a percentage of this budget as your fee for overseeing this part of it?
At this budget that you're looking at now does not have that in there, no.
Yeah, because it seems to me that Jermaine is taking on that role, or is that my misunderstanding that?
No, you're right. You're right. It means more. That's more the fee that would be going to him.
Okay.
But the overall Dream Street project, yes, that's, you know, still, you know, the curator or whatever you want, however you want to call it, would still be under the Dream Street. But then, you know, Jermaine would be the one that's running this student project.
Okay, so I think then, so would there be an additional, just so I'm clear, would there be an additional fee for you to, on this particular part of it?
I'd have to take a look at kind of like where I'm at overall with the other two projects, but I'd have to get back to you on that.
All right, so if we had 8,700 and we have 13,000 left in the MLK budget, I'm just trying to understand, are we going to have that remaining, you know, $2,300 left? Is it 23? And my math is terrible. I apologize.
Right. Again, I have to get back to you. I know David Shockley had talked about budget as well. So, you know, that's something to factor in as well as to be, you know, part of this as well. So yeah, I'll have to get back to you.
Not necessarily. If we're paying for this out of these vouchers out of this money, then his money would just go to paying probably for three or four other vouchers outside of this.
Okay.
I don't think we would be taking David's budget money to blend in with this money. I think it would be separate.
Got you. All right. Yeah. Let me get back to you. But the way I looked at it was, yeah, that my fee would be covered with the other two projects.
Okay. Okay, cool. So if you can give us that. Yeah, I think that at this point we would just have to basically, I would say that Brian is trying to launch this infrastructure committee, which will hopefully have more people involved than are here today. And then we'll come back for, you know, final presenting and approval on the first Tuesday of December. Does that work?
Sure.
Yeah, Jermaine, I think overall it's great, and I do want to see the Norwalk Arts Commission partner with Norwalk Arts Space. I think it's a really, really valuable thing. You know, so I just wanted to make sure, you know, reiterate that to you because I think it's great. I think it's great.
Appreciate it.
So I'll just run through the locations just so everyone is familiar. This is on MLK at Madison. This is MLK at Monroe Street. This is right near the train station. This is at Low Street, where this box actually was done, but it was replaced. And then this is on South Main, kind of central South Norwalk. So So those are the 4 boxes that we're talking about.
They're all prepped great, man. These are
Yeah.
that's a break. Some of these boxes are the
Yeah.
old ones in bad shape. All right, that's a break.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think, and then again, I think, you know, the value to me is, right, is if they're all done at once, it just gives you that impact, you know, as you're going through the corridor, to be like, oh, wow, there's another one, or there's another one, kind of thing,
Yeah.
you know, and it starts to put the points down on the map.
Yeah. Let's definitely think about a QR code for these guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool.
I got a
see what you're
question.
saying. I see what you're saying about the value of all 4 of them done it at once in conjunction with the whole plan. I do like that very much. I think that's really
I got a question. How do I become a arts council or arts commission member?
Join. We want you. We want you.
Where do I sign?
Well,
I like to.
What I'll do is
make some decisions here.
We do have 2 open seats right now, and we are actively looking for people, and would love to have someone with your background and credentials. That would be like dream come true. Dream street come true.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Link or something.
I tell you, the challenge is this, because it's one of the things is when you have people that are on an arts commission, it's tricky for us to get hired to do by the Arts Commission. We're not able to do that. So you sort of abdicate that being able to vote on things that you would profit by, you know, with as a commissioner. And so, you know, we want arts professionals. We want people who are really involved with the arts community. But you know, it sort of takes that sacrifice to be able to say, you know, I want to be a member, but not, you know, get hired for jobs like you're doing here. You know, it's a sacrifice that, you know, we make, but you know, in the past we've hired other people. Well, not say hired. That's why there's been people that wanted to be commissioners but chose to remain consultants because they wanted to get paid for the work, and I certainly understand that.
I see Brian and Bob has a lot of work around town. Is that separate from this?
Yeah, you know, it's not saying you're not allowed to work. It's just that it can't be a publicly funded thing that we're voting.
That comes through the city in general.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's tricky because Bob does stuff and Brian does stuff. He does stuff on his own dime, or he gets paid by private clients. You can certainly get hired by. It's just getting hired by the city becomes problematic. So that's just something to think about.
But my question, I mean, in that breath, I mean, is it a private client, totally private, or is it stuff that would still have to be approved by this council? You know, I mean, because even like you were saying, you know, if you guys partner with, you know, people with private real estate or private owners, does that still have to go under the jurisdiction of this commission, or how is that separated? What if that door opens up to where, you know, a bunch of private property owners want to do stuff? Are you saying they still have to get clearance through this commission?
Yeah. If they have to get clearance through the commission, which if it's a traffic box, they do. If it's something that's on city land, they do. You are still allowed to do that work as a commission member. However, if we're funding it as the Arts Commission, you can't do it.
Okay, so it's the funding that makes the difference, really.
Yeah, it's the funding. It's the funding because you're voting on funding something that you would.
Yeah, it's a conflict of interest per se.
Yeah, but here's the thing: if we were to fund the Norwalk Art, if we were to vote to pay the Norwalk Art Space, and they were to hire you, it's a little bit of it's a gray area, but you know, it's a little different. You know, we can't hire you directly.
Okay, that's understandable. Yeah, I'd like to sign. I sign on the dotted line. Just let me know where to sign. I'm in.
So I'll do is I'll write you offline with Sabrina and we'll talk about it. So essentially, it's the mayor's really decision. We can recommend people, but ultimately we serve the mayor. So the mayor is the one who decides and appoints you. But I would certainly write a letter of recommendation tonight.
Me and Mayor Rilling go way back.
Right on. So that's good to know because we've been actively looking, and it's really awesome. Thank you so much for your interest in doing that.
After the student project.
Yeah. Yeah, after it gets cleared, hopefully.
Awesome. All right, great. Thank you guys. I appreciate that so much. So just looking at the old agenda here. Sabrina, do we have any other old business that we need to discuss before we move to adjourn?
We're all good.
Okay, great. In that case, Julio, when you just would give me and Brian a follow-up email. I know that he's scheduling an infrastructure committee meeting on November 23rd, and he's going to try and start having like a standing meeting the second or third Tuesday of each month. It'll be easier to cancel them than to try scheduling them. So. But the next one will be November 23rd, and we'll just review everything then and tidy it all up and be ready to present for December. I forget the date. December 1st, 2nd, 3rd, something like that.
Awesome.
Okay. In that case, anybody else have anything else before we motion for adjourn? Okay, in that case, do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion.
Say again?
This is Melissa, I motion.
Thank you so much. And do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you so much. So we're just going to call a roll call. Melissa?
Yes, aye.
Elizabeth?
Aye.
Bob Ariola?
Aye.
Stephen Rust?
Aye.
Okay, Mark Allen saying aye and good night. Thank you, everybody, for your time.
All right.
And
Thank you.
I appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Guys.
Bye-bye.
Okay, good night, everyone.